tonight, WWE presents Monday Night Raw from the WWE ThunderDome in Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida. It's the first episode of Monday Night Raw of 2021, but it's a very special edition of Monday Night Raw as well, because tonight WWE is presenting Raw Legends Night. Yes, WWE is trying to bring in those ratings, because with the first episode of 2021, we'll probably get a big rating anyway, but it's a special edition of Raw because it's Raw Legends Night. Now, if Raw Legends Night sounds familiar to you, then it probably should, because it's essentially the Raw Reunion special that they did in 2019. Now, why are WWE doing Raw Reunion? Why are they doing Raw Legends Nights, which essentially, like I mentioned, is Raw Reunion? Well, WWE did this special, Raw Reunion, back in 2019. Now, was there a suggestion at the time by the USA Network? They told WWE, look, the ratings are going down. We want you to do something special. We want you to do something big. Maybe call it Raw Reunion. Invite some legends back because we want big numbers. We want big ratings. Well, they did this Raw Reunion back in July 2019, and they managed across 3 hours to have an average audience of 3 million fans tune in. Yes, live. 3 million fans live tune in. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if they did that number tonight on Raw? People in WWE would be high-fiving, they'd be slapping hands, they'd be screaming from the rooftop, what crisis? There's no crisis. There's no crisis whatsoever. Look at this, we've got 3 million live viewers. Unfortunately, that won't happen tonight. I would be absolutely flabbergasted. I mean, flabbergasted doesn't even go to cover it. If WWE managed to pull in 3 million live viewers for an average of 3 hours for tonight's Raw Legends Night, I would be stunned. I would be absolutely stunned, because it's just not going to happen. I mean, that was 2019. It's now 2021. And we talk about this all the time here on the channel about what do ratings mean in the current day? Do ratings mean anything? Are they important? Are they not important? And the answer, like anything, unfortunately, is very boring and disappointing, but it's somewhere in the middle. Because people say ratings are still important. Some people say ratings are not still important. The answer, of course, as always, the truth lies in between both points, because ratings are still important. In 2021, we're in a brand new year right now. Ratings are still important. Why are they still important? Because they do tell a partial part of the story when it comes to the show. And most importantly, the reason why ratings are important is because they're still important to the television networks, and they're still important to the advertisers that advertise during the show. And the fact that television revenue is what essentially is driving pro wrestling profit at this point, it means that TV ratings and the happiness of those television networks are important. WWE is exceptionally profitable at the moment, even during the pandemic. Why? Because they signed a 5-year $1 billion TV contract with Fox back in 2018 to start in 2019. And during that period of time, they signed a substantial contract with NBC Universal so that Monday Night Raw remained on the USA Network for several years too. Because of that, the WWE stock price rocketed during that period of time. And that was at a period of time where it was nearly $100 a share for WWE stock. Now, that's not the case now. It's gone down significantly, WWE stock, for a variety of reasons, the pandemic being one, the issues when it comes to the Saudi Arabia deal as well. Because of all of that, WWE stock took a massive nosedive in late 2019, and it continued, of course, with 2020 due to the pandemic. So their stock isn't as high as it used to be. But going back to the ratings, they are still important because they're important to the television network. So that's one thing. But as I mentioned before, television ratings are not as important as they were, say, in the late 1990s in the Monday Night Wars, because TV ratings only tell you a small part of the whole picture when it comes to the success of a WWE or any TV program in entertainment for that matter. Because television ratings only tell you how many people tuned in live during that period of time. So when it comes to their record low a couple of weeks ago, Monday Night Raw, the 1.5 million live viewers on average for those 3 hours, that means on an average 1.5 million live viewers tuned in. Live is the most important thing there. TV ratings don't take into account DVR ratings, on-demand, illegal streams, people watching the show the next day, a highlight package, whether it's on WWE's YouTube or any other YouTube channel for that matter, that lasts 10-15 minutes. It doesn't take into account people that watch it on social media just via the clips. Some people don't want to tune in to watch 3 hours of WWE. They're more than happy to watch the highlights on YouTube the following day that takes maybe 10-15 minutes, if that. That's why TV ratings are not as important, because there's other ways to consume content now in 2021. Nevertheless, it's still very, very important to WWE, and more importantly the USA Network, that they have a substantial amount of people tuning in live to watch the show every Monday night. And look, when it comes to ratings, less and less people have been watching WWE live for years at this point. I mean, you could start all the way back in 2000. I think after 2000, there's maybe been 1 or 2 years that the ratings on average have actually gone up in WWE. Apart from that, they go down year on year. It's been a declining factor in WWE and just television in general ever since the early 2000s. That's just been a fact. So the fact that every year the ratings go down, it's no surprise. I think the most important issue when it comes to the ratings in WWE, especially for the likes of Monday Night Raw, is that I think a real factor for the real steep decline over the course of the last couple of years is that the quality has really dipped for Monday Night Raw. I think that's arguably one of the bigger issues for Monday Night Raw now, is the quality is very poor. And again, I feel like I'm boring myself talking about this because we've spoken about it so often here on the channel, but there are so many issues with Monday Night Raw, and it kind of feels at this point that it's crazy to me that even the same company that produces SmackDown on Friday is the same company that produces Raw on Monday. And the reason I say that is because SmackDown is such a pleasant watch at the moment. Obviously, SmackDown, they've got more people who are going to watch every single week because they're on network TV as opposed to cable TV. Of course, SmackDown's on Fox, Raw is on USA. So that means more people are going to tune in to watch SmackDown on Friday anyway. But on top of that, you've got just a very good show to watch. It's 2 hours in length, which I think is the perfect amount of time for a pro wrestling program. 2 hours is fine, maybe even 1 hour, to be honest. Sometimes 1 hour is the best length of time for a TV show, but 2 hours is fine. And on top of that, you've got great storylines, great wrestlers, great quality content, storylines that make sense, not weird stuff, not stupid stuff that insults your intelligence, not a million recap packages. SmackDown is just an overall pleasant watch. Whereas Monday Night Raw is just totally different. They have 3 hours to fill every Monday night, and it feels like they're trying their best to fill those 3 hours, but they are struggling every single week. Whether it's a million recap packages. I mean, the biggest issue for one of the things with Raw, again, is that 3 hours. Obviously, it's a massive problem for Monday Night Raw. Is the 3 hour show. I mean, it's horrendous, really, to watch, isn't it? It's horrific to watch sometimes. And the issue sometimes with Raw, and I know so many people that have this, whether you watch live or not, even if you watch the next day and you manage to fast forward through the adverts, it's still 2 hours and 15 minutes to watch. I know that people, when they're watching the show, it can be an hour in, and it goes, right, we're at the start of the second hour, and people go, oh my gosh, seriously, it's only been an hour. It feels like 3 already, because it's a slow show, it has a slow pace, things don't move across very quickly, and everything is a recap package, and it's difficult to follow. And I mentioned this before, that an issue with Raw is it would be an issue for any company. A 3 hour show every Monday. You look at Nitro, it was a death knell for Nitro. They tried to go back to 2 hours at the end, but the damage had already been done. Historically in pro wrestling, you can't do a weekly 3 hour show. The fact that WWE have managed to have Monday Night Raw be a 3 hour show since 2012, because of course it became a 3 hour Raw during the 1000th episode back in 2012 on the USA Network. The fact that they've managed to keep Raw as a 3 hour show for 8 years, or almost 9 years at this point, is incredible, really. I mean, credit to WWE for managed to keep it going this long, because that is insane. The issue is that eventually time would run out on it, and it feels like time is running out on it. Now, that's not to say that just because they change it to a 2 hour show, if they ever moved Raw back to a 2 hour show, would that fix Monday Night Raw? No, it wouldn't. It'd be a massive factor. I think it'd be a more pleasant watch, and certainly, to be honest, the ratings would probably be better because you wouldn't have that massive drop-off in the third hour, because the third hour is always the lowest rated hour on Monday Night Raw, and it probably does bring the average rating down significantly. But the issue is, when it comes to that third hour, and people will say, well, if it's easy as fixing Raw than dropping the third hour, why don't they just do it? And I mention this all the time. You know, I mentioned it just then, that dropping the third hour, would that make Raw a better watch? It would. Would it fix all of Raw's problems? No, it wouldn't. And quite frankly, it's not even a discussion worth having about what would happen if Raw dropped the third hour, because it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen anytime soon. Why? Because USA Network, as much as they're unhappy with the ratings of Monday Night Raw, as much as we hear these reports, USA Network are furious. As much as we hear these reports that WWE gets the message and people were shocked in WWE and they're going to be offering an edgier and different content on Monday nights and Raw is going to change, that third hour will never change. That third hour will never drop. Why? Because USA Network, even though they're not happy with the overall ratings of Raw, that third hour does a higher rating than any other program would do during that time period. from 10 to 11, if they had original content, USA Network, if they had a film, if they had a TV series, an original TV series, whatever, it wouldn't do the 1.5 million live viewers that Raw does in that third hour. So USA Network, it's such an oxymoron, and it kind of contradicts itself, really, doesn't it? Because you would think that they're not happy with the ratings, so why don't they improve the show and drop that third hour? But they are kind of happy with the ratings, because they're happy with that third hour, which is kind of one of the biggest problems with Raw in the first place. It doesn't make any sense. But that's why WWE would never drop that third hour, because USA Network won't allow them. WWE is paid very, very handsomely and very, very well by the USA Network to keep that third hour going. That's the issue. That's the issue. So that won't change. So what can fundamentally Raw do to make it better? What can they do to make Raw better during that period of time? I mean, where'd you start? I guess the adult, edgier content is one thing. But even when they try and do that, I mean, they did the Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton thing, the whole setting on fire, people didn't like it. A lot of people did, but a lot of people didn't. And it's that idea of people not knowing what they want till they get it. And then once they get it, I'm not sure I like it. So I kind of understand WWE's frustration at that point. But it comes to a variety of other factors as well. If WWE really wants to improve the ratings from Raw, you have to go back to basics. The way you shoot the show, the way you set up the show, make it feel different. Make it feel different. Fundamentally, it's the same show that it was in 98, 99. I mean, there's been no evolution of the show. The set evolves, but it's essentially the change. It's the ramp straight to the ring. They could do something, go through the crowd. They could change the way they shoot vignettes backstage, use multi-cameras instead of just one. It's lazy production sometimes, which seems strange because it's such a slick production, and obviously it's a huge production. The amount of cameras they have, the amount of trucks they have, it's very big and complex, but it's also very lazy because the way they fundamentally shoot promos and vignettes hasn't changed whatsoever. I look back to Impact Wrestling, saying back in 2011, I think it was, about 2011. Say what you will about Hulk Hogan, he's appearing tonight, you can see him there. And Eric Bischoff's time during Impact Wrestling. But what I found really compelling during that period of time was they went to a completely different way of shooting the television. And they used multicam setups, they had different cameras over the shoulders, they shot it almost like a reality show in the sense that when you were having backstage vignettes and meetings, you didn't have a camera in the room, it was outside of the room, people were mic'd up differently. I enjoyed that. And I think that on a bigger platform, like a Monday Night Raw, would completely differentiate the show from SmackDown on Friday. It would feel like a different show and it would feel like something unique. I think it would work well. Things like that, I think, are things that WWE needs to look at when it comes to improving Monday Night Raw. Now, in terms of the Legends show tonight, Raw Legends Night, look, is it going to do a good number? It is going to do a good number. Is it going to do the 3 million that the Raw Reunion did? It's the same concept in 2019. No, it's not. It's not going to do 3 million because Raw hasn't done 3 million in, I mean, maybe since this Raw Reunion show, right? Raw hasn't done 3 million live viewers probably since then. I don't know for a fact, but I wouldn't be stunned. So that's not going to happen. That isn't going to happen tonight because Raw's numbers just aren't going to jump that big. It's just not going to happen. I mean, SmackDown did just over 3 million live viewers on Christmas Day, and that was with a ridiculously strong lead-in from an NFL game. So I don't suspect Raw will do the same tonight. It will do a rating because bringing the Legends back does a rating. But again, it's okay. What do you do next week? Because next week the Legends aren't there. And it's the same boring 3-hour Monday Night Raw. What happens then? And it's kind of just like, it is such a band-aid over a massive problem. I used the analogy before. It's like being in a sinking ship with multiple points where the ship is leaking and sinking, and then putting your finger over one hole for maybe 2 seconds ago, look, stopped it sinking as fast. And next week I disappear, and then it just keeps on sinking. It's such a temporary solution. It's such a temporary solution, and it won't fix Raw's problems whatsoever. I think that's the situation there. As far as the Legends appearing tonight, obviously we've got loads of names appeared or announced to be appearing on the show. We'll go through a few of them. So you got Hulk Hogan obviously appearing tonight, Ric Flair, Kurt Angle, Beth Phoenix, Torrie Wilson, The Big Show, Jacqueline, Booker T, Sergeant Slaughter, Tatanka, Jeff Jarrett, Mickey James, Jimmy Hart, Carlito, Ivory, The Boogeyman, Mark Henry, IRS, Alicia Fox, Hillbilly Jim, Melina, and Michael P.S. Hayes. I'm sure we'll probably see some other names announced as well. And look, as I mentioned, It will do fine. It will do fine in terms of the ratings. I just think it's kind of funny that every time the ratings are down straight away, okay, let's do a Legends show. Let's get the Legends back on the show. What does that say about the current roster? What does it say about the people there, that they can't draw a rating? Obviously, I guess they can't because the ratings are in the toilet. But just because you're bringing back Hulk Hogan doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things. What's Hogan going to be back every week? No, of course he's not. It's a temporary solution so that WWE can say to people, look, the numbers went up this week. It was just because we were at the end of 2020. We're in 2021 now. It's a new year and we're going towards the Royal Rumble and it's nearly WrestleMania season. Look how great all of these legends are being back. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. I'm more excited about the WWE title match. That'll be the main event in the show. I'm not excited about, the Big Show being back or Kurt Angle. I'm a big fan of all of them. But does it mean anything in the grand scheme of things? No. And previously in the past, I haven't minded these legend shows because I like seeing them interact with the younger talent. And I think it's a way of getting the younger talent over. Having a segment that has Hulk Hogan in there with, I don't know, Drew McIntyre, it could help get him over. But at this point in their careers, there's very, very few people appearing on tonight's show that can do anything physically. And the problem is with that is that ultimately, if you're a heel, if say you're Randy Orton on the show, you need to do something physical to on the most occasions to get over. And what's Randy Orton going to do? I mean, maybe I suppose you could have a Randy Orton segment with the likes of Big Show, Ric Flair. He's had issues with them in the past. Maybe the Big Show can do something physical. Hulk Hogan can't. So you're already limited. Out of the names that have been announced to appear, who am I looking forward to appearing? Carlito's actually one of them. Seriously, Carlito is probably one of them because I would love to see Carlito back in WWE full-time. He seems an odd name to have on the list, to be honest. He seems an odd name to have on the list, not because he's not a WWE legend. I suppose technically he is. He was with WWE a long period of time. But that bridge seemed to be burnt for a long period of time, and we know WWE for ages was trying to get Carlito to come back in. So I hope this is the start of a full-time run for him. I don't know if it will be. Time will tell. But as far as the other names, again, it's just kind of par for the course. It's just par for the course. And it's nothing more than a ratings grab. It just is. And whether or not it will improve the ratings, look, it will, as I mentioned. It will improve the ratings because it's legends on the show and it's the first show back of 2021. There's also a WWE Championship match that's been announced for the show. So there's no doubt it'll be an improved rating, but I don't think it'll be 3 million. And my thing would be, okay, that's great. You did Raw Legends Night this week. What happens next week? Because I mentioned it at the time, and my opinion hasn't changed on it really. That okay, great, you're doing. You did the record low, right? The record low came out. It's 1.5 million viewers, and we had the reaction that we always get when you have these record lows. All of these reports, WWE officials are shocked. WWE officials get the message. They know what to do. We then have USA Network are furious. WWE is going to make changes to Raw. Big changes are coming to Raw. And I did the video at the time. I said it. No, they're not. They're not. Nothing's changing because we do this same cycle every year, every 18 months, where it's a record low, we're promised changes, and it doesn't happen. WWE have tried all of these changes. They've tried Raw Underground, Raw Dark, 2 out of 3 full matches. The McMahon's coming out and telling the fans we're the authority, dropping authority figures. They've tried everything. And it's not a creative problem. It's not an issue where they're just looking for one good creative idea. That's going to fix Monday Night Raw. No, it's not. There are bigger fundamental issues when it comes to Monday Night Raw. It's far bigger than a creative show. It's far bigger than trotting out the legends for one night. Will it do a big number? Sure. What happens next week? What happens after WrestleMania? What happens in December of this year again? Do we think the ratings are going to be better? I don't think so. Even pandemic or not. The ratings have always been going down for Monday Night Raw, year on year on year. The pandemic last year and right now just sped things up maybe 2 or 3 years. 2 or 3 years' time, we would have been looking at this very same scenario, and it'd have probably trotted out the Legends again for a Raw Legends Night. Legends Reunion will be the next one on Raw. That's just what they do every single time. The ratings get bad, WWE gets desperate, they bring back Legends, they try and hotshot something, the ratings go up for maybe a week, 2 weeks, they pat themselves on the back, go, see, look, it's just cyclical, it's not any problem, and then the ratings go down again and again and again. Then the conversation gets into, are ratings important? They're not important. They are important. WWE are angry. They're going to fix things. They want edgier content. It's just the same stuff over and over and over again. I feel like I'm in Groundhog Day. It's so frustrating. So I am looking forward to tonight's show. I'm not really massively hyped, more than I would be for any normal episode of Raw. It's still going to be 3 hours. It's still going to be tough to watch in places. It's still going to be very dull and boring to watch in places. But seeing the legends back, that's fun. But on the grand scheme of things, is Raw fixed? No. No. There are far bigger issues to fix on Monday Night Raw, apart from its Legends Night. But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on tonight's Raw Legends Night show? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So get involved with the community below. Drop a comment. All opinions are welcome, and I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. Really just help us out here on YouTube. Go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.